As my grandteens like to say, I almost crashed out recently when I went through my calendar and I realized that I have planned between now and the end of the year, which is just a few weeks away, 3 out-of-state trips, 2 holiday dinners to host, 1 business challenge to facilitate, along with all the coaching I usually do with one-on-one clients, closing out the grades for my university semester, and of course, Christmas shopping, wrapping, baking, hosting, all the things. I don't know about you, but most of the high capacity women I know wrestle with the holidays, their expectations of them, and frankly, other people's expectations too. So today we're talking about just that, the expectation that everything has to be picture perfect, worthy of a magazine cover or made from scratch the way mom or grandmom did. Today we're choosing a different way, one that leaves room for joy, peace, and yes, even sanity. And dare I say rest. One that frees you up and still allows you to serve people well, which is what you really most want to do. Welcome back to another episode of the Gutsy Grace Leaders podcast with me, your host, Dr. Sheila Cornea. I had a revelation one a day in the holidays where everything felt hectic. I was pressuring myself. My family wasn't pressuring me, but I wanted things to be special. I had been working a lot. At that time, I think I was still working on my dissertation, final project for my doctoral degree. We had a lot of things happening, and much like we do this year. But the difference was I felt all the pressure and the heaviness and the frenzy. And I was dead set on creating all of these desserts. Like our family, we love the Thanksgiving meal and the Christmas goodies. And I wanted to bake the homemade pumpkin pie. My grandkids love the chocolate cream pie. And of course, we have to do my husband's favorite cake. And I wanted to do everything from scratch. So I'm working toward accomplishing this pumpkin pie and thinking through all the ingredients and this problem I have with my pie crust. You guys help me out if you have tips. But I don't make it from scratch. I try to get the rollout kind that's already made for you, and then you just have to press it in your pie plate. I love using my grandmother's glass pie plate, but the problem is no matter how I flour it or use the beads to weight it down, the sides just seem to scoop in. So I'm trying to figure out how to solve that problem where my sides don't fall into the pie and I can create this pumpkin pie looking at recipes. And I know it was the Holy Spirit that whispered in my heart that said, just buy the pie. And I thought for a minute, just buy the pie. Like, would I dare to buy the pie? Like, buy the cake, buy the desserts? Now, maybe you're already laughing at me because you're thinking I've been buying pies for years. Well, it was an epiphany for me that year that I didn't have to bake every single pie. But that year I didn't. It's so much easier than baking it. Now, I will still, most of the time, bake my grandkids their favorite chocolate cream pie, but that's even a little cheat too. I can tell you more about that later. But that really opened up my mind to what else could I be doing in a more simple way without cutting quality. No one's even going to notice it. It's not like I'm topsy-turvying everyone's expectations. It's just simply making better choices and choosing simple. I think a lot of us feel this internal drive to curate a Hallmark-worthy holiday, the flawless table, the made-from-scratch everything, the moment that proves somehow that we're holding it all together as the host. But here's the reality. A lot of that pressure is just internal. Some comes from what we think other people expect. Some comes from what society tells us a good holiday looks like. But most of it is the pressure we put on ourselves because we're used to being high capacity, high delivery type people. The revelation in my own story was simple. It's not lowering the bar. It's choosing what matters the most. It's choosing what actually builds connection and memories instead of what drains your time, your energy, and your joy. Proverbs 16 tells us to commit our actions to the Lord and our plans will succeed. And I think that's an important part of choosing simple, is starting with asking Him to show you what the simple things are, what the important things are, and where you might chisel corners here and there to make it a more smooth process. That's intentionality. That's leadership. And it applies whether you're running a business, shepherding a team, or deciding for your family whether to bake or buy the pumpkin pie. When you choose what matters most, you free yourself up with more presence, more joy, and more room to actually enjoy the people around you. One of the ways that I simplify is choosing the semi-homemade strategy. I used to love watching the show, Sandra Lee's semi-homemade show, because she did just this. She made casseroles or cakes or other wow-worthy meals by using kind of homemade, but not exactly. It may not always be the healthiest version, but let's be honest. In the holidays, is that our main priority? Now, maybe it is for you. Some years it has been for me. I can remember one year I made a complete holiday meal for myself separate because I was on a very restrictive eating plan to get healthy. And so I didn't have the casseroles. I had the straight vegetables and proteins, and that was it. But everyone else still enjoyed all of the not as healthy as usual delights that we enjoy in the holidays. One of the things that I love most about this semi-homemade show and idea is that it really is time-saving tricks. And I might not use them every day all the time, but whenever you're cooking multiple meals or multiple items on your menu, then sometimes we just need to make it faster, make it simpler, and it still gives that homey feeling, or even like in our hearts, we feel like we worked at it a little bit, like we invested our soul into the cooking. Now, I'm from the deep South. And I was born in North Carolina and raised in South Carolina, or as we properly say in the South, reared in South Carolina. So I do believe you put love with every bite when you're cooking it. And that's something that I want to get my hands into. That means you can take something pre-made and add your own touch a little bit. Now, this is getting real practical, and I hope this helps you save some time. I'm going to give you some of my best tips here. The concept translates beautifully into your holiday leadership too. You don't have to create everything from scratch to make it meaningful. This is where you can do your own special little tricks. You buy the pie, but you can put it in a beautiful setting with some toppings on it, like sprinkle a little extra cinnamon across the top of it. Make your own whipped cream. That's one easy thing. Now, my kids like to have the spray cream. All right, so like this year, I'm going to have cans of spray cream for them to do extra on their chocolate cream pie. But it's so simple just to make your own, and then you can flavor it up. You just used your heavy cream. Put a little bit of whatever sweetener you want. I like to use powdered sugar if I'm not really watching my P's and Q's on my sugar that day. You can add some cinnamon to it or some pumpkin pie spice to it and whirl it right up and put that on the pie. It makes it so special. It only takes 5 minutes. That's quicker and easier than making the whole pie. Speaking of the chocolate cream pie, by the way, if you want an easy recipe, like my grandkids think that this is like a family heirloom recipe. I just asked them the other day, what dishes do you want for Thanksgiving? I always ask this, and that's how we create the menu. And they said, just make the chocolate pie. Just make the chocolate pie. And one of them this year said, I don't know, I might like some cheesecake. Well, I had just purchased my famous cheesecake from the frozen section at the local Publix because I knew they'd probably run out. So I grabbed one, even though I had no intention of creating any kind of cheesecake dessert for Thanksgiving, but now I may because they asked for it. All right, so I'm going to give you my 2 tips on this. I don't mind at all because we're in this together, right? I would rather spend my time enjoying the time up to Thanksgiving and after Thanksgiving than spending so much time baking endlessly when it's gone in seconds, right? So for the chocolate cream pie, I literally go and buy the Jell-O brand cook and serve chocolate pudding. Don't get the instant. Now, some corners you just don't cut. All right, it's going to taste different. Get the cook and serve. I cook it in the microwave. Now, listen, don't come at me and say don't radiate your food. I know that. I'm not doing this every day, all day. I'm not eating the sugar every day, all day. But for this meal and for my grandbabies who want the pie, they're going to get the pie. Now, I use whole milk and I use the box cook and serve. Follow the directions on the box. That's going to make your pudding filling. I even stopped getting what I mentioned earlier, the pie crust that you roll out. You can powder it a little bit with some flour, put it into your own baking dish. Look, I finally gave up that. If you have a trick, share it with me. I'd love to know. But I got tired of fighting with the sliding pie crust. Now I'm just buying the old pie crust, which is really actually what my mom did. She didn't make her own pie crust either. So I'm just getting the frozen ones that are already pressed out. They come to a pack. That's what I'm using. And I'm putting that pudding in there. Now, this is one of my tricks. Whenever I'm mixing the pudding, I do it according to the box. And when it starts to cool, it's really good and thick. I put some of that frozen container of whipped topping in there and I mix that. I put like half of the thing in there and mix it around. It makes it a little fluffier and then pour that in the cooked shell, refrigerate it, and then I will let them spray their own whipped topping on the top. They like that. It makes it feel special. Now, I think I mentioned my cheesecake too. Here's the best cheesecake. Everyone wants this recipe when I serve it. You buy the frozen cheesecake of your choice. I happen to like the Sara Lee brand that is called Smooth and Creamy. While it's still kind of frozen, you're going to take Nutella. Yes, I'm a junkie. Scoop some out, like half a jar maybe. Put it in the microwave for a few seconds, like maybe 30 seconds, till it gets really stirrable. Pour that on the top, just on the top, not over the sides. Just, pull it on the top. Put it back in the fridge, let it thaw the rest of the way. Now you're doing it while it's still kind of frozen because otherwise it's going to you're going to be smearing all the top of your cheesecake and it's going to get messy. So this way it stays pretty. Now, if you want to get extra fancy with it, then you can take one of those little hazelnut candies, crumble that up and sprinkle it on the top, or just sprinkle some hazelnuts on top or something if you want to make it fancy. But listen, you only need small slices. It's very rich, but everyone loves it. My granddaughter, though, requested caramel on the cheesecake this year. So I think I might actually spend time learning to make my own homemade caramel. It looks easy. I mean, I've seen it on the cooking shows, so I may not cut the corner on that unless I'm really tight on time, and then I'll just buy a jar of pre-made caramel. I can't tell you how many times I've taken Nutella cheesecake to a church event or a business meeting or something like that, and everyone raves and always wants the recipe. I am convinced that God is not asking us to perform and live beyond the expectations of everyone around us and especially of Him. Now, I ran across this scripture. This is hilarious that I never even saw this in the Bible, but Proverbs 17:1 says, "Better a dry crust with peace and quiet than a house filled with feasting and conflict." And isn't that the perfect holiday verse, Proverbs 17:1? Because isn't that the truth? Maybe the crust isn't going to be as good as usual on that pie. I know it's not. It's the frozen pre-pressed one. I know it's not going to be quite as good, but that's better than me losing it, having a chaotic last minute ditch to get holiday meal on the table. Semi-homemade is not cheating. It's choosing to value your energy so that you can be present with the people that matter most. That's really what we're going after, isn't it? Your people want you present far more than they want perfection. When you simplify what does not really matter, you make room for what does. You live better, you lead better, you love better, you enjoy the season more. And you're not losing anything by buying the pie. You're gaining the freedom to show up whole, present, and full of joy. If you're listening and thinking, I want more of this, I want to finish this year well and start next year strong. I want you to know in December, I'm going to be doing a challenge just focused on that. And I'd love to have you join me for that. More information will come later on that. For now, as we work through November, set aside some time to spend with the Lord and ask what His expectations are for you in the holiday season and for the holiday meal. And what are the things that matter most to Him? What are the traditions that matter most to your family? And then lean into those. Simplify all the other things. I want you to have a really great holiday season, one that you can enjoy, not just from the standpoint of that you created an experience for everyone else to enjoy. We do get great satisfaction out of that, but one that you will actually be able to be a part of, not stuck in the kitchen while everyone's having fun, but you're out there having fun with them and applying this also with your team and being able to spend time with them in ministry and work, along with that extra time that you're giving attention to your family. We're going to be coming right back around in the next podcast episode about intentionality and how we can lean into that a little bit more during the holidays and as we're closing up the open loops of the end of the year. So I hope you will stay tuned. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do that so you know when the next one's coming out. I'm kind of on this rhythm of every other week, but I'm going to try to step it up here at the end of the year because I know that we're all focused on finishing out strong, accomplishing those things that the Lord has called us to do, and I want to help you to do that as well. I will see you around next week with another episode to help us finish out this year strong. Take care.